Hey everybody, welcome to myboardgameguides.com. My name is Chris, and today I will do a basic guide of how to play Seven Wonders Duel, a game where you build great monuments from the past ages, geared towards two players, and is based on the original card drafting game Seven Wonders. So what you see here is a pretty big overview of Seven Wonders Duel. Now, up in the top area right here is the military board, where you can use your military strength to really cause damage to your opponent. Right here are a variety of tokens that you can get if you gain certain science cards. But below here, you see the overall objective that's set in front of you, which is to build the wonders that are set before you. Now, every player will start out with 4 different wonders that they can build. And a lot of this can be a little complicated because wonders will give you some special abilities. But there's a lot of iconography for you to go through. So let me try to explain some of them. So we zoom in and we see something like Piraeus on the little icons on the left, lower left, right here. Those are the costs, how much it costs to build that specific wonder. And then the symbols on the right represent the benefits of building that wonder. So let's zoom in really close. You can see that Piraeus requires a brick, a stone, and 2 wood. And in return, it allows you to build a paper or glass for that turn. It also allows you to take another turn. That's what that little circle thing right here means. It means you can take another turn. And then this little olive circle right there means victory points. And in this game, you want to have the most victory points because that is one of the ways you can win the game. Now there's other symbols, and I'll kind of go through them briefly. For example, the Mausoleum, it's pretty standard, except for the benefits here, which allow you to gain a card that was previously discarded. Can be pretty powerful. The Great Library allows you to get a special token from the tokens that were not used in the game. And the tokens I'm referring to are these ones right here. And I'll kind of explain what some of those do too. Appian Way allows you to get 3 gold, causes the opponent to lose 3 gold, allows you to take another turn, and gets you 3 victory points. The Colossus allows you to do battle, so it gives you 2 military moves, so you would just move the military token 2 spaces towards your opponent's direction. The Great Lighthouse is fairly easy to explain. It allows you to build either a wood or a stone or a brick if you ever need to use it to construct items. The Statue of Zeus allows you to destroy a opponent's brown card, and it gives you 1 military and the victory points. And the Circus Maximus allows you to destroy an opponent's gray card, gives you 1 military action that you can move, and also allows you to get 3 victory points. So, as I've mentioned before, victory points are one way to win this game, but another way to win this game is to also do the military, use the military track. So once you get these little military icons, like say the one from the Statue of Zeus, you can push this little token towards your opponent's direction. And if you reach certain milestones, you can even cause your opponent to lose money. So if you push it over here, you can cause your opponent to lose 2 coins, which is pretty hefty. And if you get all the way over here, you can cause your opponent to lose 5 coins, which is also pretty crippling. And if you can move all the way to the very end, the end zone, then you've basically won through military. But if you don't, you can still get victory points. For example, this space allows you to get 10 victory points if you are on it. This space gives you 5 victory points, and so on. Should be fairly self-explanatory. Now these tokens are all special achievements which you can get if you gain some science symbols. So I'll kind of explain what science symbols are later on, but these symbols on here give you a little bonus. For example, with agriculture, you get 6 coins and 4 victory points. With theology, whenever you build a wonder that doesn't have a take another turn symbol, you can take another turn. Urbanism allows you to get 6 coins straight off the bat, but every time you build a card without having to pay resources, then you get 4 coins for the trouble. Law is just another science symbol that's kind of special. Architecture allows you to build a wonder, ignoring 2 of the construction costs. And as you may remember, the construction costs are in the lower left corner of each wonder. Masonry allows you to build blue cards and ignore 2 costs. Mathematics gives you 3 points for every green round token that you have, including itself. Philosophy just gives you a straight up 7 victory points. Strategy makes your military card stronger by giving you 1 symbol for every military card that you acquire after you get it. And then economy is if the opponent does not have the resource and must pay for it, then instead of paying it to the bank, you get the money. So that can also be very, very useful. So that's a brief overview of the game. The question now is, how do you get science tokens? How do you get more military cards to push the military track onwards? And of course, how do you get the materials needed to build these wonders? How do turns take place? Well, I will answer that once I set up the board. So give me a moment. Okay. So here we've set up a hypothetical example of what a 2-player game might look like. So one player starts out with 4 wonders plus 7 coins, or at least 7 equivalent of coins, as does the other player. 4 wonders and 7 coins worth. And then there's also this pyramid here, a pyramid of cards, which basically determines the common pool from which players can go and acquire the buildings they need to start building up their wonders. So one player will go first, and will choose from amongst the cards that are face up and are fully revealed. So basically what I mean are all of the cards in the bottom row. Every card will have a cost associated with playing them. Sometimes the card is free. If you look at this wood here, you will notice there is no symbol right here in this area. It's completely blank, which means that card is free. But some have a symbol right here. So this one requires 1 glass, and this is actually a science card, so it gives you a science symbol. This symbol is the wheel, and you'll notice that there's also a victory point symbol here. This card will give you 1 victory point. This card is a military card, which will give you 1 military symbol, allowing you to push your military towards your opponent's side of the board. Very useful. And on top of that, there's also a horseshoe symbol here, which helps you build stuff that requires horseshoes, and instead of having to pay the cost, you can just use the horseshoe to connect it together. This card is purely a victory point card. It gives you 3 victory points and requires 1 stone to build. But every time you want to build anything that requires a water droplet, then you can go ahead and build that for free. And I'll kind of explain what that means later on, because this can be a little bit difficult to explain unless you've seen future cards. This is a great card. It produces a special commodity, in this case paper. And this shows you how much it costs, which means it costs you 1 coin. Finally, we get to the gold cards, which help you out in buying resources that you don't have. So this one will cost you 3 gold, but in the future it allows you to build 1 stone for the cost of 1 gold instead of having to pay the much higher costs, which I will kind of go into. So the first player will choose from amongst one of these cards in the bottom row, and let's say they decide to buy this piece of wood. Great. They are now capable of getting cards that require wood. Example of a card that requires wood, well, this card requires wood. So now we go to the next player's turn. The next player can buy a card, or they can, and if they decide to buy a card that requires wood, well, guess what? They don't have the ability to produce wood right now. Their board is completely blank. So what they can do is they can pay to get wood. And the payment cost is 2 coins plus 1 coin for every card of the symbol that your opponent has. For every symbol that your opponent has, they can produce. So in this case, the other player can produce 1 wood. So the total cost of acquiring a card that requires wood, for each wood, you will have to pay 3 coins. Normally it would be 2. So for example, if you wanted to buy the baths, well, it requires stone, and you can't produce stone because you don't have any buildings that allow you to do so. So you would have to pay 2 coins to the bank to buy the baths. The cost of these little special commodity symbols like glass are also 2 gold apiece, and 2 coins apiece, plus 1 for every one that your opponent produces. So let's say your opponent had this card, then you would have to pay 3 coins to produce it. Otherwise, it's just 2. So let's say you decide to get that. Well, by getting that card, you have now freed up a card because there's no more cards that are blocking, so you get to turn it over. And this card, for example, allows you to just get 4 coins as a one-time deal, which can be pretty useful. Coins are very useful in this game because it allows you access to stuff you normally wouldn't be able to get. So definitely accumulate coins if you can. But let's say you have no more coins left. Well, what can you do? I mean, you need coins. So what you can do is you can pick one of these cards that are available in face up, and you can trash them, which means you put it into a discard pile. Whenever you do this, you get 2 coins plus 1 coin for every yellow card you have in your board. So let's say your board looks like this, and you decide to trash one of these cards. Let's say you trash this red card. Discard it. What you can do, then, you will get 2 coins plus 1 coin because you have 1 yellow card. Okay, great. Everything is good. Everything is awesome. Players will continue buying all these cards and drafting all these cards, and during the course of the game, they might decide to get wonders or accomplish some science goals. So let me show you what will happen in each of those scenarios. So let's say you were able to accomplish one of your science goals by getting 2 science cards, like this. See this board? This board has 2 wheel symbols on it. 1 and 1. And when that happens, you can get one of these little tokens, which will help you. Now, all these, I mentioned this earlier, all these tokens have different symbols on them. For example, this one gives you 6 gold and 4 victory points. This one allows you to build wonders with 2 resources less than what you would normally need to build it. So let's say this player decides to pick up this symbol, which is great because now he can build stuff on the cheap. So we play. The question that always comes up is, well, how do you actually build wonders? So let's say the player on the right can build one of the wonders. So let me set up the board to make that happen. So we will look at their board and we see that the Temple of Artemis is a wonder that requires you to be able to build 1 paper, 1 glass, 1 stone, so you better have some stone handy, and 1 wood. And let's say this is what the player's board looks like. It can be, well, let's say this is what it looks like. So you can see that based off of those criteria, this is what the player is producing. Do they have 1 paper? Well, they sure do. It's right over here. Do they have 1 glass? They sure do. It's right over here. That's 1 glass produced. Do they have 1 stone? Absolutely, right here. Do they have 1 wood? Most definitely. Okay, so good. They have all the necessary materials needed to build the wonder. So what they would need to do is choose one of the cards that are on the board, turn it over, and then slip it underneath the wonder to show that they've built it. So it's on the wrong side, but here we go. You would slip it under like that to show that it's built. And once you do so, you get the benefits of that wonder, which is 12 coins immediately. Hooray! And you can also take another turn, which you can use to whatever aims you wish. Whatever gets you more points, basically, or gets you more towards your end goal. So that is basically how the actions would work. So in a turn, you can pick one of these cards from the board and put it onto your board, like so. You can take one of these cards and trash it to get money. So if you're in need of money, that's always a viable action. Or you can take one of these cards to use to build the wonders by paying all the costs associated with that wonder. So pretty easy. Now, the only thing to note is that there are some special cards called guilds in the game. And some of these might have some quirky little symbols on them that make be a little difficult for you to figure out initially. But once you do, it's pretty easy. For example, this card right here. This card right here will look at how many red cards each player has, and the player that bought the card will get money equal to the number of red cards that the player who has the most of has. So let's say your opponent has 5 red cards in their stack. Well, this player will get 5 coins. And let's say this symbol right here is victory points at the end of the game. So you would then look at whoever has the most red cards at the end of the game will give the owner of this card 1 victory point for every red card they have. So let's say the player with 5 red cards managed to increase their pile to 7 red cards. Well, then the owner of this card will get 7 points at the end of the game. So that's just the other thing to note. Otherwise, everything should be fairly self-explanatory. So, yeah, just build cards by paying the costs. Sometimes the cost will be resources. Alternatively, the cost can also be symbols. So let's say you have this little teapot symbol. Not a teapot symbol, but this would be what a symbol would look like. You can build it without having to pay the costs. Then you would, if you get to the end game, you would then calculate how many victory points is on every player's board. Whoever has the most wins. Or if the game ends before then, because the military track went all the way to the end zone, or someone was able to acquire 6 different science cards. So this would be 4 science cards with 4 unique science symbols. So whoever, the player that gets 6 unique science symbols will be able to win as well. So there are 3 win conditions, but this game can get pretty intense. But the actions are fairly easy to understand, and hopefully this will give you a basic idea of how to play Seven Wonders Duel. There's some other finicky rules in there that you can read up, but if you need a basic guide, hopefully this was really helpful. Alright, so that is it from me. Hope to see you next time. Until then, my name is Chris. This is a basic guide from myboardgameguides.com. Subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Alright, bye-bye.